Open world gaming. It's something we take for granted nowadays. So many of gaming's most popular franchises, from Grand Theft Auto to Assassin's Creed, would be nothing without their huge, explorable worlds. Back in 1984, though, the idea of exploring the vast reaches of space was big news for gamers. Elite was a game that allowed you to do just that. The idea of freedom from a set path, the ability to do your own thing, play the game your way, was absolutely revolutionary. So we're taking a look at some of the games Elite inspired and just what an open world meant back in the 80s. It's a good idea to consider Elite's competitors. Nothing released in 1984 really compared, but there were some solid rivals released through the decade. The first Legend of Zelda would ship 2 years later alongside Metroid, both games which allowed their own brand of freedom, with far more visual flair than Elite could hope to achieve thanks to its 3D ambitions. Ultima and Wasteland were two RPGs with expansive open worlds, again released in the 80s, but aside from these few titles, Elite stood almost entirely on its own. It was this unique aspect to Elite that made it so incredibly popular. There just wasn't another choice. The genre proved to have lasting appeal too, with Elite Dangerous being released decades later, bringing the vision of those old wireframe universes into a glorious, fully rendered world. Nowadays, it's not such an open playing field. The hugely hyped Star Citizen looms over Elite Dangerous's success. Gamers can choose to play a huge variety of other near-endless games, from giant RPGs like The Witcher 3 to the randomly generated worlds of games like Minecraft. All sorts of concepts that we take totally for granted now were new in the days of Elite. The ability to influence your own moral standing is a core storytelling device in games from Mass Effect to Skyrim, but in 1984 it had barely been touched on. A few RPGs had explored the idea, but choosing to do something illegal or wrong for a quick buck, that was almost unprecedented. Trading, too, was a new idea by and large. The scale of trade that Elite offered was groundbreaking, allowing you to sniff out your own favourite trading routes to take advantage of high and low prices in different areas. That concept found incredible popularity in one genre in particular, MMORPGs. Countless players have found their fame by trading up from nothing in online games, from World of Warcraft to EVE Online, grinding away at menial tasks to eventually control entire trade empires. Another one of Elite's far-reaching ripples. The last and perhaps most important precedent that Elite set might seem boring. It revitalized grinding. The idea of completing the same gameplay loop over and over again in the hope of slowly upgrading your ship, chasing that elite combat status, was incredibly addictive. Nowadays, almost every popular game has an element of this. Even if the leveling up style of grinding introduced by fantasy RPGs sees more use nowadays, plugging away at a game for unlocks and new gear is the motivation for players of hundreds of games worldwide. With Elite, the idea of the hardcore gamer really started to take form. So, next time you're despairing over the hundreds of hours it's taken you to reach this goal or that, think back to 1984 and the game you've largely got to thank.
Yeah.
A world without Elite would be a world without so many of our best-loved open worlds. With incredibly limited tech and the simplest of 3D graphics, David Braben's revolutionary game turned core concepts of gaming on their head. Elite is the true ancestor of the open world. And for that, we can't say thank you loudly enough.